Live question mark? Oh, here we go. Now we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. I am so excited to be continuing this Elphaba Slumber Party series, and I have a very special guest with me today. Please welcome to the stage someone who I've been following for a very long time. She is an unbelievable singing voice. I saw her at the Broadway Sings Pink concert, and I was like, who is this? And then, of course, we all have seen her Wizard and I 8 million times on YouTube. You know her from the Finding Neverland tour. You know her from the Waitress tour as Jenna. Ever heard of it? And of course, Jesus Christ Superstar Live. And she just told me off podcast that one time she did a live video like this and didn't know she was live for a full 10 minutes. Please welcome to the stage, Christine Dwyer.
Hey everybody. Thanks for joining in. I'm still figuring out all of this quarantine virtual content. So yes, I did go live on Facebook unknowingly for a long time trying to figure out what was going on, and it was super embarrassing, and a bunch of people started texting me, but I didn't have my phone near me. And then I finally got my phone and saw a bunch of texts being like, hey, do you know that you are legitimately just talking to yourself out loud on Facebook right now? So yeah.
What were you talking about? Like, were you like,
Oh, I was literally just talking to Matt about some stuff. He was trying to figure out some stuff and was swearing because he couldn't figure it out. And then I was literally forehead to the camera, staring, trying to figure out if Facebook Live was working and sort of talking about that. I mean, it was very comedy sketch worthy material. I mean, it was really, really interesting.
at least at least it was just that and not like, at least you weren't like saying every horrible curse word you've ever heard, or like I one
Yeah, or
time.
talking about personal stuff, or talking about I don't
Yeah,
know, yeah.
that's always my fear. Anytime I'm like talking smack on someone, which is not often, but every now and then, if I'm like pissed off and talking smack about something, I'm always like, did I accidentally just about dial it?
That, yeah.
Yeah, nothing worse than being live when you don't know that you're live. What
And I knew that I wasn't shit talking anybody, but at the same time, I was like, what did I say in that time period that could have been bad? Even though we literally were not talking about anybody. I was just like, how long was I recording? I don't even know. My friend
right.
Kathleen, who was my college roommate, was texting me and was like, dude, do you know that you're live? She was like, I just heard Matt swear a bunch. And she was like, and you are trying to figure out Facebook. And I was like, cool. But was there anything that I said that could be bad for my future? But luckily, nothing happened.
That's Christine, I'm not gonna lie to you. That's one of the worst things to be going off live, is not being able to figure out Facebook.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just like, what are these buttons? How does this work? What this is such a loaded question right now, but what's up? How's your quarantine? What are you watching? What's good?
Quarantine is weird because I had just ended Waitress in August, and I also in at ending Waitress, I also got married in the middle of that. So we had sort of a stressful, just crazy emotional August, me and my husband. And so I sort of took the fall to kind of downshift and just sort of be with myself, and not knowing anything about COVID and all of that. So I just sort of took a break for a second and just kind of tried to relax and ease into auditioning again. And I finally got to the place where I was like, okay, I'm ready to audition again. And then the pandemic hit. And so I've been unemployed for literally a year and a few days, because we ended Waitress on August 18th on tour. And yeah, so I've been unemployed since then. It's been a super weird time. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's been great because very rarely can I actually plan time with my family and stuff. So
Yeah.
I've actually gotten to hang out with my family a lot, which is cool because I usually can't plan that. But Other than that, I'm beyond the point of depressed. I'm just sort of like bored. I'm so bored. I just want to do something. I want to have a purpose again. And yeah, and it's weird because, Broadway is not going to open until 2021. And that doesn't mean that I have a job because I was unemployed before this. So Broadway is opening up, and that's great for the shows that get to reopen, but some have closed, and it's just a really weird time. But at the same time, like, there have been positive things that have come out of this quarantine. I've been able to focus on some things that I haven't really been able to focus on. I've been able to see family. I've gotten closer with some friends. There are some friends that I've literally made through quarantine because
Yeah.
we're, like, on the same page about stuff, and that's really cool. Like, I've like legit become friends with people who I haven't actually physically hung out with in a while, and we've become closer because of it. So it's a constant back and forth and a constant up and down, and it's been great in some ways, and then horrible and depressing in other ways. So that's kind of
Yeah.
that's how I am.
Yeah. That sounds like how a lot of people are. That
Yeah,
sounds like you're right in the right spot of where we're supposed to be right now, how
yeah,
we are trying to handle this craziness. But I love what you said about, yeah, connecting, making new friends. I live in LA now. I lived in New York for like 7 years, but now I live in LA, and we had a couple move in next door to us in our apartment. And I mean, whoever talks to their neighbors anymore in
right.
2020? But they moved in and they knocked on our door and, like, with masks on, and stayed far away. But they were like, we just moved in, wanted to say hi. And we were like, hello. Hi. What do you need? Anything? If you need anything, let us know. And now we're like friends with them, and they, are so close to us that we're gonna have drinks with them on our lawn. And yeah, just it's forcing us to really do stuff we wouldn't normally do,
Hmm.
which hopefully ultimately is a really good thing. But unfortunately, it comes with like a lot of depressing shit around it.
Sure.
I've been calling friends from high school that I like, had totally lost touch with, but I just, like you said, on those days where you wake up and you have nothing to do, I was just like, who makes me I went through like a really bad low in this time, and I was like, who makes me really happy? Like, who
Hmm.
of my life just makes me like fucking smile? And I thought
Yes.
about like people I haven't spoken to from high school in years, and I just decided to call them up, and that always they would answer the phone and go, is this a mistake?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Hello?
But two of my really good friends, who I've kept in touch with. We were at each other's weddings and stuff, but like we're sort of friends because we've been friends for so long, but we don't necessarily keep in touch with each other as much as we probably should, because we actually really do get along and really care about each other. The three of us are going to go on a vacation together in September, like renting a house in Massachusetts and hanging out and stuff. And we never would have done that if not for this.
Yeah.
We would have always like sort of checked in sometimes, and we always say happy birthday to each other and stuff like that, but we never would have planned a vacation together for a weekend. And because we are all sort of in the same boat right now, and we're actually thinking about connecting with other people, we're planning this thing, and it's going to be so fun. We've been each other's really good friends since we were, I mean, my oldest friend from 2 years old is one of them, and then the other one I met when I was 5. And we've like literally been in each other's lives for that long, and we're actually like planning on hanging out again. And our lives have taken so many different paths, but we've always kind of known each other, and that's going to be really cool. And that wouldn't have happened without
That's
this. So
awesome.
yeah.
What do they do? Are they in show business or?
So one of them is okay. So have you heard of Reductress? You're a comedian.
I love Reductress. Love.
Beth Newell literally made Reductress. One of my
Oh,
best friends, known each other since we were 5 years old.
Beth
Beth
is
Newell,
a genius. I
genius, right?
love, yeah. She
Genius.
said something on a podcast one time that completely changed my life. Completely
Yeah,
changed my life.
yeah. So we've been
She's
like,
so smart.
yes, so smart. So
Yeah.
we grew up around the corner from each other. She's been one of my best friends forever. And my other friend, Lisa Paris, who is not in the entertainment industry at all, but is just like the most bubbly, happy, real person that I've ever met. She's my oldest friend. We've known each other since we were 2 years old, and she was like a social worker for a long time. Like she's just one of those people that like gives her heart and time to everybody because that's just who she is. And the three of us were like the three musketeers when we were growing up. So the three of us are gonna go on vacation together, and I'm like so excited. But yeah, Beth
That,
Newell, man,
oh
like
my God, she's
so
so
awesome.
great.
The
She said
best.
something on a podcast. I can't remember if it was her or she was on a podcast with another person, and but I think it was her who said something along the lines of like, I also like write and produce a lot of my own stuff, and it was, something along the lines of like, you have to fill your stories with people of color, and everyone out there should. And if you're watching this, please do. And I
Yeah.
think where a lot of the people above us fail, producers, etc., is that they sometimes will try a little bit and not hard enough. And I think Beth said something to the effect of like, the first three people you ask are probably going to say no. So ask three more people. like
Yeah.
your due diligence and like do the work to showcase people who deserve to be showcased right now.
Yes.
I think it
Yes.
was on Las Culturista. She obviously does a lot of podcasts because she's very
Oh
smart.
yeah, no. She's the best. And like a mother of two, and she just wrote a book. I don't know, it used to be on my bedside table, but now it's not because I finished it. But she wrote like an amazing book on pregnancy. Um, she's just the coolest. But also, yeah, I mean, being a white person in this industry, like I know that my career would not look the way that it does if I were not white. Like I know that. And it's cool to finally to have always known that, but also to acknowledge it and to make sure that I promote people of color who I've always respected and admired and know are so talented but don't get the same opportunities as I do. Like, yes, ask three more because there are. Like,
Yeah.
there are people here that deserve to be heard that aren't because of just the systemic racism of our country and then also in our industry, whatever. Like, we have to take it upon ourselves as white people who have been privileged in our lives to make sure that the playing field is equal. It's not
Yeah.
just about diversity. It's not just about tokenism. It's about making sure that it's actually equal. And
Yeah.
and the fact that people in this country are just asking for equality and not revenge is pretty lucky for us. So like, let's do our part and make sure that we're doing the right thing and not just the right thing but the fair thing.
Yeah. And really, I think, like we said, this time is obviously depressing and hard, but necessary. Like, we have to
Yeah.
take this break from everything to kind of break it all down and rebuild it. Like, I had Lily Cooper on, and she was saying that she's really close with you. And
The best. I love
um,
her.
she was like, Christine's my Elphaba. She was like, I learned everything that I did as Elphaba from Christine. And then she was
Well,
talking about
just
how
so you know, I was understudied by a Tony Award nominee. That's all.
truly legendary Tony Award nominee. When Lily was on, we mostly talked about 90 Day Fiance for like an hour. But yeah, she was talking about how difficult it is as a person of color to step out on that Broadway stage and mostly see white faces in the audience. And that is something that I, stupidly didn't consider enough as a white person in this business. Like, we have to change the accessibility of who can everything. Like, watching these Black theater forums, so much of what people are saying is like, what we need is not just castability and roles. Like, we need Black producers and Black directors, and the whole fucking system has to change so that we
Black
can.
stage managers
Yeah.
and like we need an HR department. Like the fact
Yeah, that was certainly
is
for
insane.
many reasons.
Like, that's insane. Like,
My
not
boyfriend and I,
just talking about race. That is insane. That we don't have a place that we can all go to air our grievances without feeling like it is going to affect our careers. Like, that's insane. So
my boyfriend and I were just talking about that recently. You said your friend growing up as a social worker, one of his best friends is a social worker, and we were trying to explain. He was on tour just now, and he's also a musical theater performer, and we were just trying to explain like the dynamics of the theater world and how, yeah, how wild it is that we don't have anything like that.
Because you know, like unions are very important, but also not. I've talked to a lot of. I always end up being like really close with my stage managers generally, or like my specifically like our ASMs, as opposed to our like production stage managers who also have to work for the producers because that's part of their job. But they're in our union, they're in the equity union. So like,
Yeah.
who do they go to? I'm usually the equity deputy in almost every single show that I've ever been in as an equity member. So they are supposed to come to me.
Bless you for that.
I don't know what their job is actually, because I'm not at load-in. Like I don't know what's happening. And vice versa, if we're in the same union and we're supposed to be supporting each other, we're still in some ways against each other because they have to also work for the producers. We do too, but it's different. And yeah, so the whole dynamic needs to change generally. We need to have a department that works for everybody, that everybody can go to without any kind of biased opinions, and that a group of people actually understands all of the facets of what goes into doing a production. We can't all be on the same page because we're just not, and that's okay. It doesn't make anybody's job less or more important. It's just everybody's job is different, and we need to be able to go to somebody to say, hey, this is how I'm feeling, or this is what happened. Who do I go to? Like, it's not anybody's fault. It just needs to be reevaluated.
Yeah. It needs to be changed. And that's what I hope the good thing that will come out of this is like actual change while we're all sitting around rediscovering what our relationship is to theater and to performing and to this world. Everyone in the comments, thank you so much for your questions. I will get to them in just a little bit. But first, I have to ask Christine, speaking of your two best friends growing up, what were your slumber parties like?
Okay, so mostly, most of our slumber parties were Beth, who is part of Reductress, like talking about like real life politics issues. Me and Lisa like not totally being at her intellectual level yet.
At age 5?
Yeah. And then Lisa forcing us to watch really horrible horror movies. And then me essentially like, I don't know, hanging out with whoever's pet was around. I was like very focused on the dogs. Beth was very focused on her like intellect, and Lisa was very focused on the entertainment aspect. That was like our dynamic.
I love that. What could you give an example of one of the horror movies? Because I'm obsessed with horror movies.
Oh my god. Well, actually, so am I, and I actually got to be in one recently, a couple of years ago, which you can find on Amazon. It's called Sleep No More. It's hilarious. But I'm trying to think. Well, she made us watch Event Horizon, which was not necessarily a horror movie, but it was kind of gory, and it was like about space and stuff. Did you ever see that movie?
I don't know anything about that one. Space
It's
is not really, I lose it with space.
okay. Well, it's basically about a bunch of people. I can't remember if it's in the future or if it's like current or whatever, but they're up in space, and one of the guys dies because he like gets kind of lost in space and the pressure gets too much, and like his eyes explode and his ears explode, and it's like, but he's like in space, so like the blood is like kind of weird. And I remember that and being like, oh my god, I hate everything about what's happening. I'm absolutely fascinated. So I remember that being one of them. She was just, but I mean, all of the Scream movies. I wouldn't have seen any of the Scream movies without Lisa Paris. You know, which now I watch and it's like funny. It's like it's almost like comical horror theater. Like it's ridiculous.
Yes. Oh, that's such a good way to put it. Yeah.
But at the time,
Comical
I was
horror
like
theater.
horrified with what I was seeing. But then when I went to college, because of seeing so many of those movies, I took a Grand Guignol French horror theater course where we like put on ridiculous things, and we got to like we put on like horror plays, like French horror plays, and we learned all about like how to do like gore makeup and stuff like that, and it was like so cool. But I wouldn't
That's
have,
so cool.
yeah, I wouldn't have had that without Lisa. And part of like doing the horror film that I was in, the coolest part for me was watching the makeup people like do all of that, like the crazy scar makeup, and like they run tubes through other tubes that end up like getting melded into your skin, and then you get killed, and like blood squirts everywhere, but like it looks like your skin because of the makeup, and like how cool it was. Like that was like my favorite part of being a part of that horror film. And also I wouldn't have been as interested with it um, without my slumber parties that I had with my friends.
Ah, I love that. I love how much the reason I wanted to do this podcast is because I just love how much those moments when you're alone socializing at such a young age, it forms so much of your taste.
Oh
And
yeah.
like, yeah, that's so cool that she was making you watch really horrifying horror movies.
Because my mom was like really nervous about that stuff, so she didn't let me watch. Like I was like, you can't go to a rated R movie until you're 17. That's when they tell you should go
Right.
see it. Like I was very, my mom was awesome, but like she was very strict that way. So I would go over to Lisa's place and watch the horror movies that I was never allowed to watch in my own
Oh
house.
my God. Where Eden Espinosa was on the pod and she said that her friends, her dad is a pastor and her friends were watching The Exorcist and she knew she wasn't allowed to watch it. So she went in the other room and just sat by herself while they finished the movie. She's like, I didn't want to get in trouble. Well, I'm
Oh,
not crazy.
hilarious. Oh my god,
Where
that's
did you grow up?
right outside of Boston, Massachusetts.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so like the suburbs of Boston, East Coast, the Northeast.
Yeah.
Yeah, um, it was great. I love Boston. I feel like eventually I will move back there at some point. My husband is actually also from the Boston area. We grew up like 15 minutes away from each other.
Oh
Um,
my God. Is that how you met?
well, yes. We did meet when we were really young. We went to the same preschool.
What?
We went to the same preschool, and we also were really good friends with this brother and sister, Liz and Mike Mitchell. And we both they had like an indoor pool. They were like doing well, and they had an indoor pool. So like they always had parties, and like the kids who didn't have indoor pools like went over there, and we were two of those kids. So like I was friends with Liz, and he was friends with Mike, and I remember very specifically us hiding in Liz's room because Mike and his friends were torturing us, like being whatever. And Matt was like, "Yeah, I remember chasing Liz's friends into that bedroom." So we definitely met, but we didn't actually meet and become friends until we both lived in New York, like a few years ago. So crazy.
That is so beautiful and romantic that you've known each other your whole lives.
Right.
That's really cute.
Yeah.
And now you're stuck together in a New York City apartment.
Exactly.
Isn't that
Now we can't
magical?
get rid of each other.
Yeah. I'm with my man right now too, and it's like every hour it's like, oh, this is so special. We just spend this time together, and then every other hour it's like, get out of my face.
I need a break. Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm making him watch Scream 3 tonight for the first time when we hang out.
Hilarious.
I know. He had never seen any of them, so I made him watch 1 and 2, and tonight is 3. To put you on the spot, can you rank them as of your favorite Screams? And anyone in the comments, feel free to rank along with us. It's as hard.
This is hard.
Everyone has different reasons for liking different ones.
I almost always like the first movie of things, but I actually think my favorite is Scream 2. I think my favorite is Scream 2, then Scream 1, then Scream 3. I think.
What about Scream 4?
Who was in Scream 4?
Scream 4 was the one they did like maybe like like very recently, like 5 or 6 years ago.
I don't know
And
if
it
I
was,
saw that
oh, Christine,
one. I know. I don't know if I saw that
what are you doing tonight after this?
one. Well, it sucks because Matt doesn't like horror movies. So
Matt,
I
come
have to watch movies
on.
by myself. I know, it's so annoying.
That sucks. Watching horror movies. My boyfriend doesn't like them either. And I'm like, well, too bad. You're watching this with me. You have to watch Scream 4. It
Okay.
is, you know, like when they first announced it, it was like, oh no, there's like no way this is gonna be good.
Yeah.
It's genius. It's so they just found apparent the rumor has it Kevin Williamson was on set of Gossip Girl because he wrote for that show too. And something happened where like one of the characters was using their cell phone in some sort of certain way, and he was like, I have to go. I have to go right now. I have to leave set. And he got the idea for Scream 4 and like ran to go write it. And this is how he wrote Scream 1 too. He wrote all of Scream 1 in like 2 days when he was on vacation somewhere. And he got the idea and just I don't want to tell you what it's about because I don't want to spoil it, but basically they have iPhones now instead of like the old what they had in the 90s.
Yeah.
And it is just as it's as perfectly campy and fun as the originals, and it somehow, for being a fourth iteration of a movie, to me for me it's 1 then 4 then 2 then 3.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
And I love 2, but I just
Oh, I'm excited.
4,
I'll have to watch it.
yeah,
I'll
4
watch
is really great.
it. Nope. And also, you need to watch this horror movie that I'm in. It's
Tell me what it is. Oh, Sleep No More.
Sleep No More. Watch
Is
it.
that
It's
is
great.
that related to
It doesn't. So originally it was called 200 Hours because what it's about is it's set in the 80s and it's a bunch of like medical students who are trying out this pill, and like in the first scene, I'm not giving anything away. I'm not giving anything away. In the first trial of this pill that they're testing out, the one of the undergrads that they're testing it out on kills himself, and the school shuts the program down, but they're like on the verge of some like really cool medical thing that they're trying to figure out to basically like make make people like twice as productive, because if they take this pill they don't need to sleep and they don't have any of the side effects of like working
Oh
through
hell, I love that.
right. So like that happens and this person kills himself, and we basically as a team decide that we're just going to experiment the pill on ourselves even though the program has been shut down, and then everybody like kind of then it unfolds from there, and it's like, well, whatever. It's actually a more of a monster-ish story, but like it's also a psychological thing where you don't really know what's going on. You don't know what's real or fake and stuff. And it's set in the 80s, and yeah.
Okay, forget Scream 3. I'm watching Sleep No More tonight. That sounds so good. Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna ask you some questions from the live. What do we got here? Oh, someone very sweetly, Nino Kiaburi, I'm so sorry if I'm butchering your name, had tagged something on Instagram today that was like, who are actresses you want to see in Six the Musical? And he had said, someone on there said your name. Have you sung anything from that show?
Well, that's so funny because it took over the theater that Waitress was at, and I was obviously in Waitress and stuff. And my drummer from the tour, Elena, is the drummer at Six on Broadway. It's her Broadway debut. She's the best. It's awesome. But I didn't know very much about the show because I wasn't ever able to audition for it because I was on the road, and like the timing wouldn't have worked out, and I was like in contract with other stuff. But I got a cameo request a few months ago from a guy named Tyler, who has like been really awesome, like a fan of mine for a while, and we've known each other for a really long time. He's like a super sweet kid, and he requested on Cameo that I sing Heart of Stone from Six, and I was like, I'm gonna have to learn it. Like I don't know this song, and I listened to it, and I was like, damn, like this is a great song, you know. And so yeah, so I've sung that just for cameo, but I I've never seen the show. I think it's a super cool concept and I would love to be a part of it someday. But that song is awesome. I feel like that would probably be the character that I would most likely go in for if I were to.
You'd
But
be great in that show.
yeah, no,
Your voice would
I
slay
can't wait
on that
to see it.
score.
I can't wait to see it.
I saw it for the first time. I was doing a new musical at Edinburgh Fringe, and that's where they debuted it. And we like left our show to like go watch them. It was just like in a tent in this tiny little theater, and these girls came out and they were just like boom boom, divorced, boom boom, and we were like, oh fuck my drag, this is the show of the year. And then literally, I mean, I left being like, I
Opening
just saw
night.
something so special. And then after that, it went from being this tiny little show in a tent to at the end of the show, the girls were like, thank you guys so much for seeing us in Edinburgh, we're transferring to London. And like Edinburgh has like 4,000 shows, and maybe like 5 to 10 of them become, you know, a produced run. And so they were like, we're transferring to London. I was just like, good for you. That's so cool. And now it's like, I mean, I'm sure you will do that show. It's going to be
Oh, I
like,
can't. I mean, I'm so excited.
it'll be
Well,
everywhere.
it's just super cool to like have. I mean, I felt the same way. Like that theater just needs to keep producing things for women because Waitress was like that, where it was like the first all female team, and being a part of that show, I didn't get to do it on Broadway, but like being a part of that experience was super cool. And then when that show closed, knowing that Six was coming in as another like female forward show, that was just like really cool. And yeah, I'm excited. I know that you know, that's one of the shows that's going to survive all of this.
Yeah.
It's crazy that some shows have closed and then some shows will close that we haven't heard about yet, and it's horrible. But I think that show will actually stand the test of time and come back, and I can't wait to see Elena kill it on the drums. She's the best, and see her Broadway debut. But yeah, I mean, it sucked. It sucked for those people. There were so many Broadway debuts in that show, and it literally was supposed to open March 14th, which is the day that Broadway shut down.
Oh my God, that is
And they
crazy.
all had dresses and suits, and like, you know what I mean? Like they all were pumped for the opening, and then it just never happened. And but that show, I really do feel like will survive all of this, and will come out, and I can't wait to see it because the music that I've heard in the pandemic is awesome.
It's just
So
so
good.
much fun. It's like drag music meets
Yeah.
pop. It's meets like a little bit of hip hop. It's so
So good.
good. People in the comments are saying you need to sing I Don't Need Your Love. And I agree.
Okay.
That's the sixth wife, the last wife. And
Okay.
Tobias, you guys really know your stuff. Thank you so much for tuning in and asking these questions. This is a very specific question. Tobias, thanks for always watching these Elphaba interviews. Tobias says, Christine, you're amazing. Your Jenna wig went from blonde to brunette to blonde, then back to brunette during your run. Tell us about that. Do Jennas get to choose their wig color?
We sure don't. We definitely don't. No, so my wig went so Desi Oakley started the tour, and she had this like awesome blonde wig. It looked great on her. When I took over for her, they put me in the same wig, and it just didn't look good on me. Like I was like, everybody said it. It just, I have a yellowish skin tone, and it's a yellow wig ish, and like it just didn't look good on me. So people saw it, and they were like, we need to fix this. They tried first. They tried a like super blonde wig, like a bleached blonde wig, and they sent a bunch of pictures, and everyone was like, no, that looks bad on her too. Sarah was in the show at the time as Jenna. Then she left the show to record her album and go on tour and do all that stuff. And they were like, let's send Jenna's wig to Christine. I mean, Sarah's wig to Christine. which is a brunette wig. So they sent me that and they were like, we love it. It's great. I wore the brown wig for a while. Then Sarah came back into the show, and instead of making me a new brown wig, they just were like, okay, so you're going to be blonde for a little bit while Sarah's in the Broadway company. You guys are taking her wig back and sending it to her. So they did that, and I was in the blonde again. And then when she was done with her like third Broadway stint as Jenna, they sent the brown wig back to me, and that's what I closed the show with. So that's why it changed so much. It was literally just like scheduling. Like it wasn't like
not a deep artistic choice.
No, like nothing. Yeah, like there was like nothing other than the fact that like Sarah wrote the show and that's her wig, and so you're just gonna go ahead and wear the blonde wig until she's done.
I would have had way too much fun with that. I would have given those wigs such backstory. Like
we did. The two of us, me and Sarah, had a hashtag like I think it was like Sisterhood of the Traveling Wig or something.
Wig.
Like hashtag that we like used on social media for a while. But yeah, I mean, it was ridiculous. Like it was ridiculous. But that's
I would have been like, blonde Jenna she's a different Jenna. She's softer. She used to work at a CVS, and she picked this wig color up and dyed it herself, and she has a limp and for some reason an Irish accent. Brunette Jenna, on the other hand, she is a murderer.
No, but not gonna lie, there were fans of the show that said that my blonde Jenna was better than my brunette Jenna. I'm not even joking. And I was like, because, you know, like as actors and stuff, generally I actually don't read reviews. I don't read comments and stuff because just I'm insecure anyway. So it's going to make me feel bad about myself.
Same.
But one of my friends sent me a like review of my blonde Jenna and a review by the same person and a review of my brunette Jenna. And it was like so hilarious because they were like, her blonde Jenna just like had more heart, and her brunette Jenna was like colder and darker and like not enjoyable. And I was like, that is so funny because nothing changed other than the fact that when I was brunette Jenna, I actually like understood the character better because I had been playing it longer. So I actually felt like way better about like the character that I had figured out. But yeah, some people liked my blonde Jenna just way better. I just wasn't good anymore.
That sounds like that person has a perception of blonde and brunette people in their minds that might have played a little bit into the scope of how they were viewing that.
Yeah.
That is really, really wild.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a great question. Oh, hi, Aaron Choi. Thanks for popping in. He said, Tim and I did summer stock way back in the day. That's true, 2007.
Yeah.
This is a great question. What is your craziest summer stock story, if you ever did summer stock?
Oh, I sure did. So I'm not going to say the name of this theater because it's still around. But so I did a summer stock show where I was like 75th person in the ensemble of a big show that this theater was doing in bumfuck nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you know, so, and I was getting paid like absolutely nothing to do it and whatever.
$12 and
Right.
a pat on the back.
Yeah, exactly. And I was doing this show, and so people like in the town housed the actors. Like there were like the principal company actors who were in like principal housing, like from the theater. And then there was the rest of us who were like living with random families like all over this town. And in the I don't know what you call it, like you got the job, and then I had to like answer some questions where in the questionnaire that they sent to all of us, like one of the things was, do you have any pet allergies? And I'm really, really allergic to cats. I love cats. Cats are the best, but I'm super allergic. So I was like, I can't live in a house with cats. And they were like, great. And then I got there, and I was in a house with 3 cats. Living with this couple with this other girl that I was going to college with and whatever. And I ended up like breaking out into hives and like not being able to breathe and almost having to go to the hospital and all this stuff. So I finally went to rehearsal one day when I literally couldn't speak. I didn't look like myself. I was covered in hives. And I went to the director and I was like, I was like, I need to be moved into another house.
And hospitalized immediately.
So grateful to be here, but also I need to be moved into another house. And he was like, we don't have any other housing. You can come stay in my apartment. And I was like, great. Oh, this is really funny because the reason that we know each other is also a person who would know this story. The reason that I am here today.
Okay.
This is how I met that person.
Okay.
So
great.
So he's like, you can stay in my apartment, whatever. So I stay in the apartment. He has like a room in his house. And I'm staying there and I invite the person that we both know over because he was also in the show. And I didn't think that it would be an issue. I was like, yeah, you can come upstairs because we were about to go on like a hike or something. He came upstairs and the director of this theater and show came upstairs, saw the person that we both know in my room, and then texted me and said, you have to leave. I didn't tell you that you could have people over. That was so disrespectful. How horrible of you. Like, you need to find a new place to live. Meanwhile, we were like opening the next day. So me and the person that we both know, me and the person that we know, who we were both working for the fucking theater, we're like, okay. So I left and I was like,
oh no,
where do I go? And the person that we both know said like, just come to the place that I'm living, because he was also put in someone's house, and he was like, just like sleep on the pull-out couch with me and we'll just do the show together. So we ended up literally spending the entire summer together, sleeping in the same bed, because the director of the theater and the director of our show kicked me out because I had another person that he had hired over. When I also had broken out into hives because they put me in a house with cats and I told them that I was allergic to cats. I mean, it was like...
Actors are treated like such garbage sometimes. It's like really
so ridiculous.
That is wild.
Like, non-equity, getting paid absolutely nothing, and like
yeah. And at that time of your life, when you're in freaking college, you're just like, oh, I don't want to do anything to upset anybody.
No, and the fact that I was like, hey, what's up? And like the person that we both know was there, and he was like, hey. And then I got like an angry text or an email. I guess I don't even remember. This was a long time ago. Yeah, I mean, I think it was a text where he was just like, how dare you bring people into my house? And I was like, wait a second. This person is also in the show.
That is why. Yeah, meanwhile, you guys were like, we just want to do our ensemble work. We just want another opening.
I just want like a couple of EMC points, so it's going to be a little bit easier for me to audition in the city. Like, that's what it was.
I once went to do a show, and I also won't name the theater, but they were picking me up from the airport, and the guy that was supposed to pick me up brought his girlfriend, who I think had some affiliation with the theater. Like, she worked in the costume shop or something, but like didn't need to come with him to get me. Like, he could have just come by himself. Brought his girlfriend, and she was violently ill. And she said to me when she got in the car, I'm violently ill. I should have stayed at home probably, but I didn't want to not have this time hanging out with him. To her boyfriend, I was like, oh, okay. As we're driving back, she starts rolling the car window down and puking out of the car window. I'm sitting behind her, and so it's just coming on my window as we're driving. I had just flown in from New York. It's literally like 12:30 at night. It's like almost 1 a.m. She is just vomiting past my window, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like ducking to make sure none of it like gets on me. We get to the housing, and I walk in and they're like, okay, everyone's asleep, so be quiet. I was like, yeah, totally. They were like, because I was like 2 days later than everybody else. And they were like, go up to your room. Your room's upstairs. You have a roommate. I was like, sure. And so I go up to this room, and Christine, I'm not kidding. It was an attic space like this, like maybe 4 feet tall. I'm 6'3". It
Oh my
was
god.
it was not a bedroom. It was like there was no carpet. It was just like like a crawl space with two mattresses on the
Separately, we need
floor.
to, separately we need to figure out what this theater is because I'm pretty sure it works there too. Like I'm like actually not even joking.
We will message after this
Okay.
because also yours, I'm also pretty sure I worked at too.
Okay, great. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure because I definitely lived in an attic in a place that had just mattresses on the floor, and there were three girls that were living in the attic, and we had bats. Like there were bats living in our servants' quarters, essentially. Like, yeah, I
Yeah,
just
service.
wonder. I feel like maybe it was the same place. I can't wait.
That is really amazing. And brings me to our section of the show called Wait, Let's Have Fun. And for this part of the show, Christine, I made something very special just for you. I have not done this with any of the other Elphabas, but I got the idea today. It made me so excited. I made you a paper fortune teller, or as they're sometimes called in Ohio, where I grew up, a cootie catcher. um,
That's so funny. I've never heard that, but that's
a,
amazing.
a cootie catcher. And this will tell your fortune. There are a few different answers in here. So I don't know if you remember. Do you remember how to play this?
I remember like okay, isn't there like a poem thing that you do? Explain it to me because I'll remember once you explain it to me. But I've definitely played this a bunch of times when I was younger.
I didn't remember either because it's, I mean, literally been since like fourth grade. But
Right.
apparently, what I read on the internet, at least, we'll do the way that they said on the internet. You pick a color, and then from the color, I'll use the color to do this. And then
Right.
there will be numbers inside, and then you pick a number, and then do that, and then you pick one final number, and whatever that number is your fortune,
That's the
is
plan.
your
Okay.
future.
Yes. Yes. Oh,
But
great. Okay.
yeah, this is your future, but this is a very special paper future teller cootie catcher because it's a wicked themed
Great.
fortune that you're gonna get. It's gonna be something involving wicked. So
Okay.
whenever you're ready, pick a color.
Yellow.
Okay, YELLOW, and then your numbers are 1, 2, 5, or 6. Pick one of those numbers.
Two.
2,
Two is my lucky number.
1, 2. So then your numbers are 1, 2, 5, and 6 again. So pick one of those again.
Two.
2 again. 1, 2. And then do you pick 2 again?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it. 2. And your fortune is Fiero finally asked you out on a date, but the candles that you lit at dinner lit his scarecrow ass on fire. He dies, you go to jail forever. Oh no!
Honestly, that sounds about right for my luck.
Oh no!
I buy that.
Oh no! If you guys are enjoying this cootie
I'm so
catcher
happy
game,
when everything burns to the ground.
everything. Welcome to 2020.
Yeah.
Like, if you guys are enjoying this fortune teller game, come join us on my Patreon. The link to it is in the comments. We're gonna play this some more and a bunch of more fun slumber party games. Thanks so much for joining us in the live. Thank you, Christine. Where can the people find you if they want to follow you on the socials?
Oh yeah. So I had this nickname. I had two nicknames, and I kind of melded them into each other, which is probably why nobody can find me on social media. But it's C-Teen Dryer. It's Ceendryer. My last name is Dwyer, and my first name is Christine. C-Teen was my college nickname, and Washer and Dwyer was my nickname in high school. So then I changed my social media to C-Teen Dryer. So you
I
can
love
find
that.
me there. Um, and you can find me on Facebook at C-Teen Dwyer, my actual last name. Or I think I have a fan page that's just like my regular name. But yeah, C-Teen Dryer.
CT Dryer. I love it. I love it. If you're watching this, feel free to subscribe to this to watch Elphaba interviews every Saturday and join my Patreon because we're about to have a lot more fun. Thank you guys so much for